Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Fox Sports.
The streaking Rays have played their way back into the race. Now, a quick two-game interleague set stands in their way as St. Louis finds itself in the playoff hunt as well. Local product Jake Odorizzi gets the nod, hoping to take down the team he grew up rooting for. It's the Rays and the Cardinals live from St. Louis right now. Tonight we welcome you to T-Mobile Baseball. The Rays continue their road trip as we greet you from the gateway to the west, St. Louis, Missouri. First game of a two-game set between the Rays and the Cardinals. Hi again, everyone, and welcome to an evening of Rays baseball with Brian Anderson. I'm Dwayne Statz. Great to have you with us. Well, the Rays and the Cardinals go at it tonight. The Rays BA fresh off the sweep of the Minnesota Twins, a day off yesterday, and it will be Jake Odorizzi going to the mound here against the Cardinals.
The homecoming for Jake Odorizzi, and ironically enough, if you go back over his last starts, and that started with an outing against the St. Louis Cardinals at Tropicana Field, you can see that Jake Odorizzi has really turned the corner in his numbers. Just a 3-2 record, a tough luck loser in that June 6th matchup with Adam Wainwright, but a 2.28 earned run average. And when you get a little bit deeper into the numbers, a couple of things that you like. Number one, averaging over 6 innings a start, so he's getting deeper into the game. And 6 of those 7 starts, he's given up 2 earned runs or fewer. He's going to have a similar outing tonight going against Wainwright.
Absolutely. It's a rematch, as you point out. Wainwright, the right-hander, premier right-hander, you could argue, in all of baseball, tops in ERA in the major leagues, and he was the boyhood idol of Jake Odorizzi.
Yeah, a very interesting matchup. This is a guy who went out, started the All-Star game for the National League squad, and if you go over his last 7 starts, the numbers are even better. I mean, a 4-1 record, that ERA of 1.03, 52 2/3 innings. He's given up 6 earned runs. And I'm going to tell you something. He is going to pound the zone with the fastball, the cutter. He's very efficient. But the pitch that you have to keep your eye on tonight is that devastating curveball. He's got a tremendous 12-6 big depth curveball that the Rays will see plenty of.
So a great pitching matchup. Odorizzi returning home to take on the Cardinals and Wainwright. Meanwhile, from Central Illinois, Ben Zobrist grew up a Cardinal fan, and he is busing fans in from Eureka, Illinois for this one. 2 busloads. More from Todd Callis on Ben Zobrist when we return. I hear you. What do you want now? On Sun Sports is presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Big Philly flavor, small price. Checkers Philly cheesesteak and the new Chicken Philly, each just $1.99. Bert Smith Volkswagen, Tampa Bay's home of driving excitement. Visit BertSmithVW.com. And by T-Mobile Tuesday Night Baseball. Rays and the Cardinals from St. Louis. Right now, let's go down to the field. Todd Callis and Orestes Destrada.
Dwayne, thank you. Ben Zobrist will be hitting number 2 today. We already showed you in our pregame show the 110 fans that made their way from Eureka, Illinois. Big moment for Ben. He's been really hitting the ball better.
He's been hitting the ball outstanding for a good 3 or 4 weeks. And the big thing really wasn't from the right side. Lefties he has owned all year long. He's been very comfortable. It's from the left side. And what he's seeing from the left side, what I'm seeing is at the top hand. He's not rolling over the top hand. Watch it release right there where he can get to let go of the top hand. And that gives him the opportunity right there, release. And it gives him an opportunity to not roll over balls. And he's also being very, very quiet with his hands now. He was really messing around with it. And now you're talking about a Ben Zobrist that is powerful and aggressive from both sides of the plate. And Todd, he's one of the key guys in this lineup because he does so many different things.
In our Lowe's Never Stop Improving moment, you'll see Ben Zobrist's numbers over the last 18 games. Here's Ben about having a big fan base at tonight's game.
Well, you know, we've never had my whole extended family, well, and it's not even everybody, believe it or not, but we've never had everybody come down from Central Illinois before for a game, and it's only 2.5 hours away, so we thought, well, we'll do it one time, we'll get a couple buses, get tickets for everybody, so yeah, we brought about 110 people down with us this morning, so it was fun on the buses, and you know, hopefully we can do some things on the field that let them get loud.
It sounds like you may hear your fan section tonight. That's enough people that can make a dent even in this building. Huh?
Yeah, hopefully. You know, maybe not even, but for sure, you know, we'll hopefully be able to hear him at some point. So, looking forward to that, and depending on how far away, I'm going to try and chuck a ball up to him at some point.
Kind of a long throw. They're in the 200 level, the second deck of the stadium.
He's got a great arm, though, I will say that.
There they are, 110 strong from Eureka, Illinois. A lot of them came here early this afternoon, went through the stadium tour, now getting ready for a little Rays baseball. Do you expect the same situation tonight? Wainwright, Odorizzi, low-scoring game?
I expect a low-scoring game. I think a key thing that you're going to be looking for today on the positive for the Rays is Yadier Molina is not in this game. You got to take advantage of that, maybe being a little more aggressive on the base pass. He's the best back there throwing, so let's push Cruz a little bit, and let's maybe be a little more aggressive on the pass.
Getting ready for the first of 2 in St. Louis. We'll be back with more from Busch Stadium after this. You're watching Rays baseball on Sun Sports. It's Odorizzi against Adam Wainwright. They faced each other on June 10th at Tropicana Field. Here's Odorizzi on facing a guy he used to watch as a teenager in this stadium.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, there was only 2 games, so it was like flip a coin if it was going to happen or not. But it all worked out for the best, I guess, and at least I have an opportunity to throw there, and we'll see how everything goes. But just got to have a chance.
Kind of cool that it's Wainwright.
Yeah, I was. We have already faced each other once, and now we'll do it again. So hopefully, I'll be on the better end of the spectrum than last time. But it'll be cool. I mean, it'll be neat facing him and see what he's really like.
One difference this time.
Yeah, one difference. I get to hit him.
Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't really know what to expect. I haven't seen live pitching in 6 years, so I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'll be swinging, I guess.
Adam Wainwright just concluding his warm-up tosses in the bullpen, so he's getting the fist bumps and getting ready to step on the field for this evening contest. A Tuesday night, Rays and Cardinals first of 2. The Rays with an off day yesterday, along with St. Louis, and the Rays will have an off day tomorrow before they begin a 3-game weekend series against the Boston Red Sox. As you heard, Odorizzi hasn't hit since he was in Highland High School. I heard he was a pretty good hitter back then, but facing the NL All-Star starter is a little different task. We'll have baseball right around the corner from St. Louis.
New since 2006 and a beautiful setting for baseball tonight. It is a warm evening, 89 degrees in St. Louis for game 1 of this 2-game set. The Rays fresh off the 3-game sweep of Minnesota. They won 5 in a row, and there's Adam Wainwright headed to the mound to pitch for St. Louis tonight. Let's take a look at the Rays starting lineup put together by Joe Madden. Brought to you by your Southern Ford dealers. Desmond Jennings leads off playing center field, followed by Ben Zobrist and then Matt Joyce. Evan Longoria, the cleanup man. James Loney off a red-hot series against Minnesota. He'll hit 5th with Yunel Escobar at short, hitting 6th. Jose Molina will catch, and Jake Odorizzi, the pitcher, will hit 8th with Kevin Kiermaier. Truly a second leadoff man in this situation, batting 9th in right field behind the pitcher, Odorizzi.
Well, I'll tell you what, that lineup for the Rays is going to have its work cut out for it. They're going up against Adam Wainwright, making his 20th start of the season. The 12 wins, tied for the most in Major League Baseball with 3 other pitchers. The 1.83 earned run average right there, you see, leads all of baseball. And all the other numbers you can see, doesn't walk many guys, just 27 walks in 138 innings. Very efficient. So I would imagine that this Rays lineup, after having seen him already one time this year, he threw the ball very well against the Rays, but they've seen him and they're going to be aggressive tonight. You can bet on that. Let's take a look at the St. Louis defense as it lines up behind Wainwright. In the outfield, left to right, Matt Holliday, John Jay, and Alan Craig. Across the infield, third to first, Matt Carpenter, Johnny Peralta, Colton Wong, and Matt Adams. Tony Cruz will be behind the plate.
Joe Madden with the Rays now at 47 and 53. Winners in 14 of their last 18. And he sends Desmond Jennings to the plate to lead it off against the Cardinal ace, Adam Wainwright. Wainwright will be 33 at the end of August. Here's the first pitch of this game, and it's a strike call. First pitch presented by Pinch-A-Penny, a fastball in there to start the proceedings tonight. Toward the middle, but shaded that way is Wong at second, and he makes the play.
Now that was a little cut fastball, and that's the way that Wainwright likes to work hitters. He's a lot of fastballs early, fastball and cutter, and I think that's why you're going to see, number one, he throws a lot of strikes, but this Rays lineup, after having seen him, you talk about them being aggressive. When he gets ahead in the count, and especially with 2 strikes, that's when the curveball really comes into play. You want to try to stay away from that pitch.
Now Ben Zobrist. Ben starts tonight hitting .264. And he takes the first pitch, fastball for a strike. Zobrist doubled off Wainwright at Tropicana Field as we peek into the Cardinal dugout, the 3rd season. Manager Mike Matheny. 0-2 the count.
Well, the other thing that will be interesting to watch, not only for Wainwright, but also for Jake Odorizzi, these guys have not started a game. Now, Wainwright did start the All-Star game, so he did get some work in between, but their last regular season start, both of them, was 10 days ago, back on July the 12th. So you just want to see how sharp they are in the early going.
Popped into shallow left. Peralta starts out from shortstop, and they're coming in from left. Holliday. They had Jay and Holliday on the move from center and left, and Holliday grabbed it.
Yeah, you know, the play gets made, but far too many moving bodies in close proximity. You see Holliday coming in there, and he splits the difference in between Jay and Peralta to make that play, but a little miscommunication there by the Cardinals defensively.
2 gone with the bases empty for Matt Joyce. Joyce in the game in Minneapolis on Sunday had a walk and a double and a run scored, hitting .271. And through the left side, they had the shift on for him, and he found the opening on the left side of the infield for a base hit.
And that was a really nice job by Matt Joyce, because they have the shift on, and all of a sudden you're going to come right here. You see the shift where everybody's lined up right here, and they throw a cutter. Wainwright comes with a cutter trying to get Matt Joyce to pull that ball, but he does a nice job of staying inside of it and hitting that ball the other way, taking a base hit here with 2 outs.
Here's Evan Longoria. Evan at .262. Pitch from Wainwright away. 1 ball, no strikes. One and one.
Little breaking ball there by Wainwright. You talk about a right-handed efficient starter. There's a curveball right there, drops it on the outside corner. The run that he is on, he's given up just 6 earned runs in his last 53 1/3 innings.
Longoria hits it on the ground to short. Peralta to Wong for the force at second. We're headed into the bottom of the first. No score. Back in St. Louis, we go to the bottom half of the first. Rays did not score in the top half, leaving a man, and the Cardinal lineup brought to you by your Southern Ford dealers has Matt Carpenter at the top. Colton Wong, the second baseman, hits second in front of Matt Holliday. Been their big RBI guy this year, followed by Matt Adams, Johnny Peralta, then Alan Craig. Center fielder John Jay hits seventh. Tony Cruz catching now. And Adam Wainwright hitting ninth doing the pitching.
And they'll be going up against Jake Odorizzi, making his 20th start of the season. The right-hander, 5-8 record on the season. Actually has pitched for the last couple of months much better than that 5-8 record, and actually much better than that ERA of 4.01. As you can see, has really morphed into a strikeout guy. 116 strikeouts in 101 innings.
Yeah, you contrast really the first month, but you could go into May as well, and then contrast that with June and July. He has pitched so well. First pitch is a fastball up to Carpenter. 1 ball, no strikes. Jake's one of those guys who's not afraid to pitch up in the zone at 90 and 91.
Well, when you watch him and his next delivery, if we get a good shot here from center field, you're going to see the ball or the hand come out of the glove, and it stays behind his body. He gives you very little arm swing to pick up on. Watch, look at it, keeps it behind his body and then right to the plate. So the release point comes at you quick, and the ball jumps on you, and that's why he can pitch up there at 90 to 92. First of all, he's got the guts to be able to do it. And that ball will jump on you. And you talk to opposing hitters, and that's what they tell you. The ball just jumps at you. And that's how he gets away with it.
Rays have the shift on for Carpenter. And the pitch is up. So now it's 3-1. And a shot to deep right center. Kiermaier's going to go to the wall for this one, and it's gone. 3-1 pitch, and Carpenter hits it out to give St. Louis the early lead.
Well, Matt Carpenter just dialed up on 3-1. A hitter in that type of count can look for one specific pitch in one specific spot, and he got it.
His 5th home run of the season, the 10th allowed by Odorizzi. Pitch to Colton Wong is a ball, 1-0.
Oh, that comes off of a series against the Dodgers, where Matt Carpenter was 0 for 10.
And he is the table setter. Not only that,
is up.
This St. Louis team as a whole does not hit a lot of home runs.
No, they're last in the National League. That's only the 64th home run they've hit as a team all year. Good move here by Molina. Odorizzi falls behind Wong 2-0.
You've got 7 pitches now. 5 have been out of the zone, and 1 was right down the middle. And that will be the key for Jake Odorizzi. We talked about how sharp can he be. He's not pitched in 10 days, and truly has not pitched in 10 days. And on top of that, the emotions of this homecoming for him.
And here's the other guy, Wong. You want to be careful with him since he's been back active. He's been swinging a big power bat. There's 2-1. He has 6 home runs for the year. 5 of those have come since the 6th of July. Close pitch, and that one misses. And Jake is behind him 3-1.
Well, as the weather starts to heat up here in the Midwest, so has Wong. You see those hands low, coiled up, ready to swing.
And he takes a rip at that one, thinking about another one. 3-2.
Well, listen, he had the same count as Matt Carpenter, 3-1. Those are the counts that hitters dream about. They're thinking drive a ball into the gap, hit a home run, take a walk.
And he takes the walk. Wong heads to first.
Now let's take a quick look at the Rays defense, and you hope they come into play here pretty quick. In the outfield, left to right, Matt Joyce, Desmond Jennings, and Kevin Kiermaier. Across the infield, third to first, Evan Longoria, Yunel Escobar, Ben Zobrist, and James Loney. Jose Molina will be behind the plate.
So with Wong at first, Matt Holliday is the hitter, and he is the guy who made the difference in that matchup between Odorizzi and Wainwright at Tropicana Field back on the 10th of June, accounting for the only run in that game. Runner takes off, pitch, throw, out at second base. Wong cut down for only the 2nd time this year trying to steal, and that was a quick release by Molina. Let's take another look.
Well, it's almost a pitch out too. You see the pitch itself took Molina up and out of his crouch, and he had a free target down there. Get that ball down to Ben Zobrist, who gets the tag on Wong. And Mike Matheny out there wondering about maybe where was the tag. He is not going to challenge. And listen, Jake Odorizzi's not easy to run on. That's now just 2 of 7 opposing base stealers against him, and he has a couple of pickoffs to boot, so not easy to run on, and an easy pitch for Molina to handle.
So the Rays eliminate the base runner. Wong now 12 of 14 in the steal department. 1-0 the count to Matt Holliday. He shoots it toward right center field. Jennings on the run, gets there on the track. Desmond Jennings runs it down. Nice running catch by Desmond over from center field to record the 2nd out.
Well, it pays to have defenders, especially outfielders, that can cover a lot of ground. That's what Desmond Jennings does. And he's out deep into that right center field gap, runs that ball down glove side. You just hope for Jake Odorizzi he's able to get through this first inning with just that 1 run being given up and start to calm those nerves down a little bit.
Yeah, and here's one guy who might cause you a little concern, Matt Adams. He's hitting .360 against right-handed pitching.
Well, the one thing that Jake Odorizzi has going for him is he is a dead low ball hitter. Low ball hitter, and Jake Odorizzi, as we know, likes to pitch up in the zone. So that's a combination where if he's able to execute, he should be able to handle him.
And he has a quick jump on him. 0-2. His splits right there. Up and away.
And you could see right there Molina asking for that fastball up, and Jake a little bit too much on that pitch.
Still a ball, 2 strikes. Matt Carpenter hitting his 4th career leadoff home run has given St. Louis a 1-0 lead. Lost a piece of that one and part of Molina in the process.
He continues to try to work the top of that strike zone. Adams doing a nice job of fighting to stay in this at bat. A couple of foul balls, and that one got Molina on that glove hand. Just kind of, he wears his catcher's mitt right at the tip of his fingertips. A lot of palm sits out from that glove, and so if you get that glove hit a certain way, it really wrenches that hand around.
And a cut to miss. He got him with the fastball up, strikes him out. 1 run for St. Louis on the long one off the bat of Matt Carpenter. We've completed 1-0 St. Louis. Here's the score of the game the last time these two pitchers matched up at Tropicana Field, 1-0 St. Louis. And our GMC big matchup, James Loney against Adam Wainwright. Some extremely healthy numbers, 12 out of 26 with a home run and 3 doubles. Loney had a great series against the Twins. Takes the first pitch in there, a curveball for a strike.
James Loney, a balanced approach at the plate against a guy who throws a lot of strikes. James Loney uses the whole field. We saw that. Well, we see it all the time with him, but especially in that Minnesota series that you referenced.
Shot toward the gap, slicing away from Jay. That ball's going to roll all the way to the fence. Loney on his way to second and will stop with a double. His 21st double of the year, and he continues to rack up the hits against Wainwright.
That's the second time Ray's left-handed hitter. You think about Matt Joyce's hit right there. Nice job of staying inside that cut fastball from Wainwright. Watch him pull the hands in. Stay inside it, inside out that ball out of the left center field. And caught him in a bad outfield shift. A little slice action on that ball and immediately into scoring position. This is where Adam Wainwright really knuckles down. Batting average against him with runners in scoring position, 152. Get much better than that.
And Yunel Escobar will try to get Loney home. Trying to get Loney home and himself. Maybe.
Yeah, well, listen, that's the way that Yunel Escobar swings the bat, but what he has to realize, if he does get to 2 strikes, now you got to think about moving Loney over. These are the opportunities that you get against Wainwright. They don't come around very often that you have to cash in on. Get him over, get him in. Love to get him in right now, but at least get him over.
He's thinking about it right there. Takes it for a ball, 1-1. Rays down by a run. We're in the top of the second.
The other thing, too, when you look at the way that the Rays lineup lines up right now, Molina on deck, Odorizzi in the hole. So get him over, but get him over swinging.
There's a strike. It's 1-2. Yeah, that's the thing about this lineup. There's an upside and a downside to that. The downside is this right here.
The downside is a leadoff double by Loney, and Escobar doesn't do anything.
Yep. Well, the upside is that Madden's trying to make sure that Kiermaier gets some pitches to hit.
Yeah, if you have Odorizzi hitting 9th in front of or behind Kiermaier, Kiermaier's not going to get anything to hit. So you put him 8th. Now Molina's probably not going to get a whole lot to hit compared to Odorizzi, but you got to pick your poison. What hitter do you want to see more pitches? And that would obviously be Kiermaier.
Wainwright wants to get together with his catcher, Tony Cruz. Cardinals without Yadier Molina. And Cruz does a pretty nice job back there. In fact, he does a pretty good job of stopping the running game as well.
Yeah, big reason why nobody runs on the Cardinals, or very few. Yadier Molina, but you better believe Tony Cruz learning from the best.
And Escobar is out in front of that breaking ball and strikes out.
That's when it comes into play, especially when you get to 2 strikes, and Wainwright wants a strikeout here because he does not want Escobar to have a productive at-bat, and he just drops that curveball short, and Escobar cannot lay off.
So here's Molina with Odorizzi on deck. This would be a good spot for a bad ball hitter. Molina's average up to 196. There's a line drive base hit into left field. Over to third. Loney's going to have to stop there, and Molina, who has been swinging the bad better, comes through.
Yes, he does. He got a hanging breaking ball, but he hit that ball so hard it got out to Holiday a little bit too quickly to be able to score James Loney. However, let's look at this situation. Odorizzi hasn't hit since high school. Coming to the plate right now, 1st and 3rd, 1 out. This is your safety squeeze.
Yep, sure is. So let's see if they can get it done. Something the Rays have utilized over the past few years. A play that the late Don Zimmer loved. The Cardinals pinched the corners in a bit. Loney 3rd, Molina 1st. Odorizzi takes the pitch for a strike. Now, you haven't hit since high school. Now you face the guy with the best earned run average in the major leagues.
You might as well start right out with the best. You know he's going to be around the zone, be ready to swing if that's what you're going to do.
Now the bunt, he puts it down. Down the line comes Loney. He's going to get the job done. Loney scores standing up, and the Rays pull it off to tie the game at 1, and nicely done by Odorizzi.
Well, he dropped that down. He put it in a good area, got it far enough away from home plate and deadened it. And James Loney, a nice job by him to get a good jump right here and be able to score easily. You saw this play coming a mile away. The key is, can you execute it? The answer is yes.
So Odorizzi gets a run batted in to tie the game. Nice job. And Molina advances to 2nd. Here's Kevin Kiermaier. Pitch is down. Those are the plays that represent the traditional National League style of baseball that you could see the Cardinals and the Rays hooked up. Chopper to the right side. Wong makes the play. Kiermaier is out of there. Rays get a run to tie it. We go to the bottom of the 2nd, 1-1. Time for you to tweet your photo using hashtag SunSportsFanPhoto for a chance to have it shown in our broadcast later in the game. Brought to you by AT&T.
I'll tell you, that bunt that was put down that scored James Loney, put down by Jake Odorizzi, may do more to settle him in as a pitcher than anything else. Got off to a little bit of a rough start in the bottom of the first inning with the home run, and then walked Wong. Was able to get out of it just giving up the run, and then got it back with a great bunt. Runners on first and third, and now fully settled into this game. Expect Jake to be much more sharp from here on out.
Rizzi will face Johnny Peralta to open the bottom of the second. And the first pitch is a strike. Cardinals bringing Peralta in at shortstop to try to bring a little stability, at least in the short term, at that position. They've had 8 different opening day shortstops spread over the last 8 seasons.
Well, how about the fact that this team goes to the World Series last year and their infield is all new? You know, Matt Carpenter moves over to third base. You just talked about Peralta. You got Wong at second base. Now Adams at first. Moved Alan Craig to the outfield. Usually don't see wholesale changes like that. A team that was so successful.
Cut the miss. That takes care of Peralta. He's out on strikes.
Boy, the ability to throw that changeup in. And that's what got Peralta. A hitter sees four-seam spin coming close to him, or something straight coming close to him, and they immediately think fastball. And then you got to get the hands going early. And in Peralta's case with the changeup, too early.
There's Alan Craig playing right field. Fastball away off the plate. 1 ball, no strikes. One ball, 1 strike.
A good fastball there too, and Alan Craig a little bit tardy on that fastball at 90 miles an hour.
1-2, and I'll tell you, you might be right about Odorizzi putting that bunt down, because he seems to be a lot more like himself here, working to the first 2 hitters in the second.
Anytime you come back home to pitch against a team that you grew up rooting for, and I had the opportunity to do that going back to Cleveland when I was with the Angels, it really is about controlling the emotions early. If you can do that, you give yourself a chance. And you could see right off the bat.
Ooh, strike 3 call. Back-to-back strikeouts. That's 3 consecutive strikeouts now for Odorizzi.
The previous strikes came away. So all of a sudden you get Craig thinking about a pitch away, and you lock him up on a pitch in. Right at the top of the zone. Doesn't even offer. But, you know, Jake was a little bit shaky early on. It helped getting Wong thrown out at second. Getting that first out was big, and then being able to contribute with the bat was huge.
Pitch outside to John Jay. You know, that's an interesting situation there, where a team hits a home run followed by a walk, and the Cardinals have a lead. Well, they're going to be more aggressive, so the challenge is for the Rays to cut down that runner, and if you meet that challenge, now it starts to turn that tide a little bit.
Yeah, anytime you can go, you didn't have a good at-bat against Wong, you walk him, you're frustrated by the home run, now a walk, and within a pitch or two, you immediately, go back to the windup. That does wonders for you. Ball hard hit by Holiday and a nice play by your center fielder. And now when things start to settle in, and that's that's the big key for Jake Odorizzi. So I think from here on out, you're going to see him pitch just his normal game. The nerves no longer part of the equation.
But you can only imagine. I mean, Jake didn't start his pro career until 2008 in the minor leagues with the Milwaukee organization. He talks about watching Wainwright pitch, and some of that was here in this ballpark. He walks Jay, a 2-out pass. That's the other thing.
Yeah, no, and listen, when it was the same deal. When I was in college, I had a poster of Albert Bell in my, in my apartment, and then a few years later, strolling out to the plate,
and there he is.
There he is. Now you're pitching again. It's the same kind of thing, and you're right. It's very surreal. That's why you really just have to just kind of pare everything down to the bare minimum. The pitch I'm going to throw, Molina's target, execute the pitch. Keep it as simple as possible.
Tony Cruz takes the pitch inside. Odorizzi grew up 30 miles east of here in Highland, Illinois. Facing Tony Cruz, who hails from Lake Worth, Florida. Hits a long one down the left field side, foul. Good distance, but it was well fouled.
Boy, he showed some quick hands on a ball in. That ball was down and in, and Cruz, boy, did he rip the hands through the zone close to the body, quick to the baseball.
Sends this one into right for Kiermaier, who's got it. That'll retire the side with a man left on. Headed into the third. A 1-1 tie. As we go to the third, reminder, Rays fans, don't miss tomorrow's Wednesday night showdown presented by Mazda as the Rays take on the St. Louis Cardinals at 6:30 right here on Sun Sports. Beautiful evening in St. Louis, a little on the warm side. Rays will have the top of the order coming up against Adam Wainwright in the third. Jennings, Zobrist, and Joyce.
I really like the fact that the Rays able to flip that lineup already against Wainwright, get Jennings in that top of the order back up there to see him again so soon.
Ball 1 to Desmond. Wainwright had a little forearm issue. The word is that it's no longer a concern. Ground ball back to the mound. Toss to first, and Jennings is out, number 1. And with that, we'll check in with Todd.
Dwayne, the Rays with a roster move today. Joel Peralta had been suffering from an unusual virus since the All-Star break, and it is, they think, caused by a mosquito bite he suffered when he went back to the Dominican Republic. He's taken some blood tests down in the Tampa Bay area, back at home now, and he goes on the 15-day DL. Jeff Beliveau back for his 5th stint with the Rays. All 5 times has come on the road. Jeff said he just got back from a road trip with the Durham Bulls, hadn't even unpacked, and just took the same bag out and brought it to St. Louis. He's getting used to that Durham to Tampa Bay commute, guys. Back to you.
Yeah, he's already packed, so why not? Just come on up to St. Louis. He's had a great year for Durham, and every once in a while, for about a 24 to maybe 36-hour period, we get to see him here in a Rays uniform.
And sometimes he even gets to pitch. and when he does, you like what you see.
Absolutely.
Tell you, the Rays, no shortage of arms to be able to put into that bullpen. Kirby Yates up here right now. I'll tell you, that's one area of the Rays team right now that needs to be shored up just a little bit. Mm-hmm. You need to get Grant Balfour back on the right track. Obviously, not helping is Peralta going on the disabled list. You look at your 2 end of the game guys, and right now they're your most reliable.
Well, that's why it was good to see Kirby Yates come.
Yeah.
You hated to have to use him. You would have preferred to have seen Balfour go through the lineup 1, 2, 3 Sunday against Minnesota, but Yates came in, got the last 2 outs, and picked up his first big league save. There's a strike, and the count's going to be full to Ben Zobrist.
You know, and that started the night before with Juan Carlos Oviedo not able to close out what was a 5-run lead. That forced Jake McGee into that game. And then he, of course, had to come on in the 3rd game, pitch in all 3 games. But you're right, Yates is one of those guys you keep your eye on maybe in some more high leverage situations. Certainly got the job done on Sunday.
Oh, strike 3 called twice. Zobrist thought he had walked, and he's upset. Keppinger says that's a strike, and Zobrist didn't like it.
Not at all. Fastball down and away. You know, this is where reputation helps you out, and Wainwright so precise most of the time. That pitch just off the plate. And he gets rung up on it. Joe Madden not real happy either. Listen, Wainwright's good enough. He starts to get a little bit off the plate, he's going to become real difficult to hit.
So 2 gone. Cruz a pretty good job of receiving that pitch as well out there.
It's the very thing that you love about Jose Molina, those borderline pitches, and Joe Madden not letting this go.
Madden has just been ejected from this game by Mark Reppinger. Got Kerwin Danley involved in this dispute now. He's the crew chief.
I think what Joe was telling Ripperger that, listen, I was looking out at second base. I wasn't even talking to you. Get his money's worth now.
about that? You can see there. At least Joe wasn't looking in the direction of Reppinger. I don't know what he was saying.
I'll tell you what he was saying. He was saying it was outside. It was out. You know, we've seen Joe do that before when he does the look away. The message is being delivered to the home plate umpire, but he's not looking at him. So he can claim, listen, I wasn't talking to you.
So he was.
It's too nice.
He was looking in the other direction.
Oh yeah. The old no-look pass by Joe Madden.
1-0 the count to Matt Joyce, but Joe's been ejected for the 36th time in his career now. It's 2-0.
Yeah, and it's too nice of a night to already be inside.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah, you don't want to go in this early.
And a check, and Joyce did hold on the appeal down to Danley. Two outs with the bases empty. 3-0 the count on Joyce. Three and one. Yeah, that ejection was keyed by Reppinger's ears and not his eyes. Three and two, foul ball out of play.
It is a good move, though.
Oh, I like it.
Yell at somebody and just be looking somewhere completely different.
Full count. Davey Martinez now in charge. And a cut and a miss. Cutter, 3-2 Cutter gets Joyce. Bottom of the third coming. 1-1. From St. Louis, kids looking for something fun to do this summer? Come play where your Rays play at the Rays Summer Baseball Camp. You can create your own memories by hitting at home plate like Evan Longoria or pitching from the mound like David Price. To register, go to raysbaseball.com/camps. Cardinals with a run in the first and the Rays with a run in the second. Headed into the bottom of the third with Jay Odorizzi out there. You know, we had a chance to take another look at that ejection while we were away between innings, and come to the conclusion that Madden was saying, hey, I was talking to Wainwright.
And he may have been. I mean, listen, he may have been looking at Wainwright. He certainly was looking out near Wainwright, who steps into the box right now, but that was it.
One strike on Wainwright. That's strike two.
Just an interesting exchange right there, because clearly the message was that ball was outside. He was very clear about that. Now, he may have been yelling that to Wainwright, but
but Keppinger didn't like
the
fact that he was talking with a third party about the call.
No. All he hears is the manager continuing to yell that pitch was not a strike, basically, and he had enough.
Wainwright is out on strikes. Fourth strikeout for Jake. Well, here's that sequence again. I'm talking to him.
Well, you know, when he goes out there, you could actually hear Joe say, "Hey, he was staring my guy down." So that's what gives you the impression that he may have been yelling out at Wainwright. At least that's what he's claiming.
Yeah, Zobrist didn't like the call. Dropped the bat and left it there as he walked off, just to punctuate the point that he didn't like that call. Pitch low to Carpenter. Carpenter hit the home run in the first inning. Strike around the knees. It's 1-1. There's a base hit past the diving Loney. Big turn by Carpenter, but he'll hang at first. Kiermaier hustling over to the ball. Carpenter's 2 for 2.
Well, you've got everybody pulled around there for Carpenter, and he still finds a way to get this ball into the outfield. Well, that changeup working its way down into the zone. He's able to shoot it by Loney, but a nice job by Kiermaier coming from as far away as he did to cut that ball off. Carpenter had an idea of maybe trying to stretch that into a double, but not able to because of the hustle of Kiermaier.
Here's Colton Wong. This one fouled right back off Keppinger. And Jose Molina steadying the plate umpire and talking about shared experiences right there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Jose Molina is usually the guy that falls victim to this. Boy, that caught him square, too, because that ball rolls back out into play. Wasn't not a glancing blow.
One on, one out. A strike to count on the hitter Wong. Foul back, 0-2. Rays drafted Wong's younger brother, Keen Wong. He's been playing at the A level in the Rays organization at Bowling Green, and he's been having a pretty good year down there, hitting over 320. Wong here in the big leagues playing with the Cardinals. Pounds this one away out of the University of Hawaii. Ground ball, second base, bobbled by Zobrist. The one play left is at first. Wong is out, but Carpenter moves up to second.
Well, you were thinking off the bat right there, a ground ball double play to end this inning. That ball was well struck by Wong, and it got into the midsection of Ben Zobrist. One hop, and it gets up there. Once it does that, it rattles around. No chance for the double play. You just take the out at first. Unfortunate for the Rays there. Had a chance.
Yeah, and here's the issue, because Matt Holliday's coming up. You turn the double play, you face him to lead off the next inning. Now with 2 outs and a man in scoring position, you have to face him. He's hitting .367 with runners in scoring position. Pitch is high, 1-0, and he does own the home run that decided the game at Tropicana Field back on June the 10th when these two teams matched up. Same pitching matchup. Hit a changeup out to left center for the only run of that game. And had a big cut at that one. A swing and a miss, and the count goes to 1-1.
Now he got that fastball. That one just at 89 miles an hour, but up in the zone, just above the zone. Jake able to even the count. But you remember last year, this Cardinals team hit .330 with runners in scoring position. That is absurd.
Yep. And a cut and a miss again up there. This one at 90.
Boy, it's absolutely amazing how Jake Odorizzi is game after game, start after start, able to exploit that hole on so many different hitters.
And I think the point you made about the fact that he hides the ball and then has that quick delivery, I think that's the difference that makes him successful up there. Pop foul. Loney might have a play near the stands. Got it. Loney in the stands made the grab, and that will retire the side. We go to the 4th. The Rays and the Cardinals tied 1-1. St. Louis tonight. In this game and all season long, Tires Plus donates $100 to the Pediatric Cancer Foundation for every Tampa Bay Rays home run televised on Sun Sports. Evan Longoria leads it off. Middle part of the order now for the Rays. Longoria, Loney, and Escobar. Little tapper toward the mound, and Wainwright quickly in to make that play. One away.
You know, there's very little difference in the velocity of Wainwright's traditional fastball and that little cut fastball. And because he's around the zone, most lineups are going to go out there and be aggressive against him, but that's how he can get you. Throw that little cutter and just that little bit of movement at the end takes the ball from the barrel of the bat to the end of the bat. Bad contact equals outs.
Here's James Loney. He opened the second inning with a double off Wainwright to continue his hot hitting against this quality right-hander. First pitch is a strike. Loney made a nice play on this one up against the stands to end the bottom of the third. Had a Rays fan down there to give him a little room.
Should have boxed somebody out too. That's where that 6'4" reach of James Loney helps him out.
1-1. There you go. A couple of Rays fans right there in the front row. Warm night here in St. Louis. Need fluids. There's a base hit the other way. Loney on again. How about that? He is 2 for 2.
Boy, how about him on this road trip? Now 9 out of 14. He is scorching hot, and again using the left side of the field.
And how about this? I mean, there's a breaking ball. He takes it the other way. Wainwright came in with a 183 earned run average, the best in the major leagues. He'd given up 99 hits in 138 innings. And Loney now, in 28 at-bats, is hitting .500 off him. Here's Escobar. Pitch down and away. And to get to .500, Todd Callis down there doing some math. He's 11 of his last 15 against Wainwright. 11 out of 15 against Wainwright.
Guy that doesn't give up.
Oh, man.
The league's hitting barely over 200 against him.
Yeah, 201 combined. Oh, a ground ball grab there at first. Down to second goes Loney. Boy, that's quite a play by Adams. That ball appeared on its way up the right field line, and Adams made a great play for St. Louis.
Potentially saved a run here. That ball was scorched by Escobar. And I'm going to tell you something. For a big guy, the book on Adams is he will show some agility around the bag. He didn't have a whole lot of time there, but you saw the quick dive and the nifty glove work. That is a tremendous play. Boy, that ball gets up the right field line into the corner. Rays should have a run, and you could have Escobar potentially on third.
Well, Molina came up with a base hit in the second inning that helped set up the run the Rays scored. Wainwright works him away, and the pitch outside. 1 ball, no strikes. 2 outs with a runner at second for the Rays.
Well, this is another opportunity, and if you want to win these types of games against pitchers of Wainwright's caliber, this is where you've got to come through. Molina already with a hit in this ball game. That allowed Jake Odorizzi to lay down a safety squeeze to drive in the Rays' run.
Off the plate, and the count is 3 balls and no strikes.
Once he fell behind, now Wainwright just going for the perfect pitch. Not going to give in to Molina here with Odorizzi on deck.
Rays had a runner at first with 2 outs in the first, left him there. Couple of hits and a run in the second, a 1-2-3 third. Now Loney's at second with 2 outs in the 4th inning against Wainwright. 3-0 the count to Jose Molina. And boy, he wasn't going to take any chances. There's ball 4. So Molina heads to first, and Odorizzi heads to the batter's box.
You want to get yourself rolling with a really great night? Come up with a base hit here.
Yes. Odorizzi with men at first and third got the run home with this in the 2nd inning.
And very well done, deadening that ball out up the first base line. You have to swing it here.
And a curveball for a first pitch strike.
Showing a little respect.
Yeah, how about that?
And you get a pitcher like that to lay a bunt down. Adam Wainwright's still trying to figure out what kind of hitter Odorizzi is.
Yeah, and if Wainwright had paid any attention when Odorizzi said, I haven't hit since high school, he'd think he's just trying to set me up.
That's right.
Takes it away. It's 1-1. Big right-hander, Wainwright. 6'7", 235. Runners take off, swing and a miss, and there will be no throw. So how about that? Loney and Molina pull off a double steal.
Would you have ever guessed that? Could you have ever guessed that these two would pull off a double steal?
Quick, somebody calculate the odds.
We actually had them in a race for the slowest on the team.
Yeah.
And they both nab one.
Now come up with that base hit. And a cut and a miss. He threw him a breaking ball. Couple breaking pitches in that sequence, including the one to get him. We're tied 1-1, mid-4. From St. Louis, let's take a look at our Chevron pitching matchup for tomorrow night, which, by the way, will be an hour earlier. We'll be with you at 6:30 on Sun Sports, leading up to the first pitch. Alex Cobb on the hill for the Rays. Lance Lynn on the mound for St. Louis. So another good pitching matchup tomorrow. When these two teams get together between the Rays and the Cardinals and their rotations, you're going to get some good pitching matchups.
All the way through. I mean, 1 through 5. That's how these teams are able to go out and continually win. This, Cardinals team can retool every now and then. Still one of the most successful franchises you're going to find. You talk about an organization that does things the right way, makes good decisions, and just continues to pump out starting pitchers. Sounds a lot like what's going on down in St. Petersburg with the Rays.
Well, you can imagine if these two teams, the way they're put together and the philosophies they have, what kind of series they could have repeatedly throughout the season.
Now they both understand that it begins with starting pitching. Yep. That's going to be able to keep you in most every ball game if you have quality starting pitching and can catch the baseball.
Gives you a chance to win almost every night. You're going to be in those games. This is Big Matt Adams leading off. There's the cleanup hitter, the 1-0 pitch, fouled away, 1-1.
And you know, you look at defensively too. This is a Cardinals team second in the National League in fielding percentage. There's 47 errors on the year. They'll pitch and catch, get some timely hitting, go to the playoffs every year.
2-1.
And they certainly had that last year, as we talked earlier, a .330 average with runner in scoring position as a team.
Well, the Cardinals do a lot of little things right, and that's the thing that the Rays also attempt to do. They emphasize that.
Well, it's really about minimizing mistakes. You know, each team's going to have 27 outs to play with, and you just don't give up any extra outs. Do the little things. Be fundamentally sound. Don't beat yourself and have the good pitching, good defense, and you could get on prolonged, successful runs.
This one, third base, tough play, and Longoria can't get rid of it. Not sure he had a play anyway. He had to come back to his right on a ball that was not hit overly hard, and Adams is aboard.
Yeah, not hit hard, and even with Adams running, Longoria, you're going to see as he comes into the screen here, has to come a long way just to get there. And even this throw, which would have been off balance, moving away from first, I don't know if he was going to be able to get enough on it to get Adams.
So the Cardinals put Adams aboard to lead off the bottom of the fourth. Here's Johnny Peralta. Through the coaching box at third, foul for a strike. Into the screen, 0-2.
That was the pitch right there that Jake Odorizzi, those kind of pitches leave your hand and you immediately start fearing the worst. That ball was out over the plate, right into the swing plane of Peralta, and able to just foul it off. That leaves Jake up in the count 0-2.
And he strikes out Peralta for the second time. That's the first out here in the fourth inning.
Keep climbing that ladder. Another heater at the top of the zone, right at the letters. It is a boring refrain, but I'll tell you what, it is effective. And Jake Odorizzi has that pitch down.
You know, he has the pitch up, down, and
right.
5 strikeouts tonight. Alan Craig, the right fielder. He was called out on strikes on a pitch up that was in and caught him looking.
Well, what sets him up for that pitch in? Wait till you see him set up here against Odorizzi, the way that he has his hands, the way that he has the bat cocked. That will invite pitches in close to you.
Strike one.
You can see he's got that uppercut swing. He really cuts it loose. So you start, those hands start to become a target when you're up in the count. If you want to go with a heater, you shoot him right in there at his hands.
One ball, one strike. 2 balls and a strike. Short little meeting in the works here with Molina and Odorizzi. Coming up Saturday, July 26th, the Rays take on the Red Sox, and the first 20,000 fans that day get a Rays tote bag presented by MLB Network. For tickets, visit RaysBaseball.com or call 888-FAN-RAYS. Two balls and a strike to count on Craig. Now 3-1. Jake Odorizzi, Rays right-hander. There's John Jay on deck. Odorizzi, just 24 years old. Cut the miss, big cut by Craig.
Now I'd do it again. I would absolutely do it again. Another heater from the belt to the letters. See the way that he drives that pitch to home plate, the swing underneath that baseball. You can even give yourself another inch or two up in the zone and still get him.
Runner goes, the pitch skied deep to center field. Jennings all the way to the track in front of the wall. He holds it in, and back to first goes Adams. Another nice running grab by Jennings. He had to cover a lot of ground and get deep to center. 2 gone.
The difference was that pitch was down. Watch where this is. Not up in the zone. That gave Craig a chance. And he did put a good swing on it, hit the ball hard, but awfully high. That gave Desmond Jennings time to get back there and make that catch right in front of the wall.
Yeah, that's a great point, and it shows you, you talk about trying to keep the ball down, and Odorizzi's so effective up. But if he missed down there, there's a lot of leverage that the hitter gets.
Especially, well, when you look at that.
Here's a fly ball to left.
Later.
Right to Joyce. Jay is out. Man left on after the leadoff base hit. We're still tied 1-1.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Kevin Kiermaier will lead off in the top of the 5th. Kiermaier batting in the 9 slot in the order. Jake Odorizzi 8. Why is that? Here's the manager, Joe Madden.
It has something to do with possibly pitch hitting earlier. It has something to do with keeping the conga line moving from Kiermaier back to the top of the order. You just never know how it's going to play out. that 8-hole is going to be important? Is the 9-hole going to be important? A lot of it has to do with me bleeding over into the top part of the batting order, back into your 4-hole. And the other part is the ability to pinch it a little bit sooner if it's necessary.
So we'll see if the back-to-back leadoff hitters, if you will, work out this inning. The other thing, we saw the first and third bunt play. He said if Odorizzi hits at some point with a runner on and one out, he would not be afraid to hit and run with him. He said worst-case scenario, strikeout, double play. Kiermaier leads off the next inning, guys.
And it worked out just fine in the second when Odorizzi did put down the bunt and get the run home. And here we are in the fifth with Kiermaier leading it off against Wainwright. Good curveball there, and he was going to bunt, but takes the pitch for ball one.
Yeah, and that would have been interesting because Matt Carpenter had a pretty good beat on that if he was going to go up the third baseline. That's why guys that are going to bunt, if they're able to shoot that ball the other way, bunt up the third baseline, also as a left-handed hitter, take it with him up the first baseline. I'm not really sure where he's going to do it. May try and do it.
It's outside, 2 balls, no strikes.
It's like being a guy like James Loney that'll use the whole field swinging the bat. It just makes him tougher to defend.
Now ball 3. Wainwright promptly falling behind in the count against Kiermaier.
And he better be careful here with coming with something out over the plate because Kiermaier, he'll jump into something.
3-1.
There you go. That's fine. That's not what you want. 3-1. He's got to do it again. Now you turn it loose.
There's ball 4. Kiermaier heads to first. Second walk issued by Wainwright. He walked Molina with a runner on in the 4th inning with Odorizzi coming up next. Now a leadoff walk to Kiermaier.
Yeah, a couple of bad things. The leadoff walk that you just mentioned, number 1. Number 2, a guy with speed going back to the top.
Wind up rolling over again with Kiermaier reaching base out of the 9th spot. Jennings shortens, takes the pitch inside.
We've seen that an awful lot. Kiermaier getting on, nobody out. Desmond Jennings sacrificing him to second base. I would love, especially right now, you got to believe that Wainwright is going to come with that cutter away. You'd love to see Kiermaier in motion and Desmond Jennings let that pitch get into the zone towards the outside corner and just shoot it to right field, a hit and run. Here we come.
Over to first, Kiermaier back in there. Desmond 0 for 2 tonight. It's a good spot for that, and the Rays want to be a little aggressive on the bases and not necessarily in straight steals with starting runners.
You have to do that with a guy like Wainwright on the mound.
Bunt by Jennings is foul.
More times than not, you're not going to be able to just sit back and hammer him and just put together 3, 4. I mean, you're going to do that every now and then, but more than likely, you're going to have to manufacture something on your own. A leadoff walk gives you that opportunity.
And speed aboard right now with speed in the batter's box as well. Shows the bunt again, and the pitch is off the plate. 2 balls and a strike.
You know, the last 2 pitches have been that cutter away, and that's where you figure that's what you're going to get after the first pitch fastball missed in. So why not put Kiermaier in motion and go ahead and let Desmond Jennings hit and run? That pitch is set up perfectly. Not that one because it was a ball, but the previous pitch set up perfectly to hit the ball to right field.
Now it's a 3-1 count.
Having trouble finding the zone. These are another instance here with Wainwright scuffling. The walk to Kiermaier, 3-1 to Jennings. Make it hurt.
Well, against Wainwright, you look for any little edge you can find. There goes Kiermaier. The pitch shot into center. Jay is closing. He'll make the catch. And the throw back to first. Kiermaier is going to beat it in. Throw offline a bit. So he's back safely at first. And Jennings is the first out of the inning.
Well, John Jay had a chance there to get Kiermaier. He comes running in, makes the catch, and it looked like he had a great opportunity. And I'm just wondering if John Jay may be right-handed. Maybe.
There's Ben Zobrist. Zobrist called out on strikes in the third inning, and that led to the eventual ejection of Joe Madden. It's low.
You know, maybe it's me, but it seems that it's rare anymore from the games that we've seen that you come across a strong outfield arm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really.
No, you're right about that.
It just seems like that you know, like that throw. But I thought that he had him, you know, had a real good chance to get him, and that ball just kind of floated out like with nothing on it. But you see that more often than not anymore.
The strike, it's 1-1.
I guess that's why you get excited about how Kiermaier throws.
Mm-hmm.
That play that Cespedes made down in left field, where he threw the ball 420 feet on a line.
Well, there is a theory out there that, you know, all the strong arms are funneled to the mound.
Well, you look at the velocity readings.
Yeah,
not going to argue with
and
that.
They're up.
Yep.
Zobrist held up. So says Kerwin Danley. 2-1. Pretty close. Texas batting in the top of the ninth inning in New York against the Yankees in a scoreless game. Top of the ninth. That's a strike. Fastball in. 2-2.
This is a big pitch, too. This is 91 miles an hour, 2-1 count. You do not want to fall behind 3-1, and Wainwright able to find that corner.
And look at Wainwright working over the edges of the plate there.
That's what makes him so effective as a pitcher. He just does not miss very often out over the heart.
Runner goes. Good jump and a little tap back. Wainwright overruns it. Will have to go back to get it. No play. Both runners safe. Kiermaier breaking. And Zobrist with that little tapper, and Wainwright overran it.
Well, and this is where you have to make this hurt. Absolutely. Wainwright coming off the mound, and that ball just gets pinched between the glove and the grass. Not able to get back in time. You got to get that 6'7" frame moving in opposite direction rather quickly. Couldn't do it. Now the Rays with a big opportunity.
An error charge to Wainwright puts Zobrist aboard. Kiermaier's at second. And an opportunity. Matt Joyce up here. Matt 1 of 2 tonight. Matt takes a strike at the knees. Joyce had a walk and a double in Sunday's game in Minneapolis. pitch away. The error by Wainwright setting up this situation, his first of the year. Did not commit an error at all last year. You have to go back to 2012, a spread of 84 games between errors. A turn, but no throw. Peralta, the shortstop, trying to break in behind Kiermaier.
More of a traditional defensive setup here against Matt Joyce because of the runners, number one, out there on base, the way that they're configured, and also because Matt's base hit was about where Johnny Peralta is standing right now.
Now that gives Wainwright the advantage in the count now, 1-2.
Boy, that's a tough pitch to have to contend with because it's the good curveball that Wainwright has, and he starts it on the outer edge, maybe just off the plate, and drops it right over the outer third for a called strike. That's a tough pitch to go out to be able to get in drive.
Nice cover up there by Cruz. 2-2.
Having a good defensive catcher where you know that you can drop that curveball short, hopefully get the chase, and a well done blocking opportunity right there by Cruz.
2-2 with runners at first and second and one out. That's going to be fair by Carpenter up the left field line. Kiermaier will score. Zobrist to third on the double by Joyce, and the Rays take the lead. It's 2-1. Big base hit there, a double for Joyce, and the Rays are out in front.
And he goes the other way again. This ball down and away. Nice job by Matt Joyce, not trying to pull it, not trying to swing too hard. Let that ball get into the zone on the outer part of the plate and then just shoot it, get it by the diving Carpenter at third. And I'll tell you what, you take the lead and you still second and third continue to try to add to that lead. What a big hit.
Well, here's Eben looking for his first hit tonight, and he is hit by the pitch. Longoria hit by that pitch, and that's going to load the bases with James Loney coming up.
Well, and who would you rather have up than a guy that's 11 for 15, his last 15 off of you? You're trying to keep this pitch close to Evan, and it just took off on Wainwright and got Evan right in the back of that left arm.
So the bases are loaded. James Loney is going to be the hitter. Rays and the Cardinals tomorrow night. Our coverage begins at 6:30. Alex Cobb makes the start for the Rays. He'll be opposed by Lance Lynn, and it's another Web Wednesday tomorrow. Well, here's Loney. Loney 2 for 2. First pitch in off the plate. 14 of 28 in his career against Wainwright. Rays have taken a 2-1 lead. Big opportunity for the Rays right now. Loney gets the count running in his favor, 2-0.
The way that he took those two pitches. You talk about seeing the ball well out of a pitcher's hand. I mean, he's not even flinching. Recognizing the pitch, the location, realizing it's going to be a ball, and just saying, okay, I'm going to force you out over the plate because there's nowhere to put me.
Wainwright misses again, and it's 3-0. This inning started with a walk. (3-0) the count on Loney. And Loney swinging 3-0, fouls it back. If you're 14 out of 28,
yeah,
likely to get the green light, 3-0.
You better believe it. And this ball, probably ball 4. But James Loney had his eyes on a different kind of 4.
And we've seen him pick his spots and turn it loose.
And he does have juice. He doesn't always show it, but boy, oh boy, can he put a charge into a baseball.
Rays got a run in the second. They have a run home in the fifth to take a 2-1 lead. 3-1 to Loney. And there's ball 4. That will force home a run. That makes it 3-1. Loney picks up the run batted in, his 47th as Zobrist crosses the plate. A bases loaded walk issued by Wainwright.
Boy, when was the last time has he ever done that? He's such good command. James Loney, so much success off of that. May have been the better play for Wainwright. Just go ahead and walk him. Walk in 1 instead of letting him drive in 2 or 3.
Now Yunel Escobar. There's the strike. Escobar robbed of an extra base hit in the 4th inning on that stop by Adams at first. If he'd hit the ball the same place now, we'd see a lot of blue jerseys running around the bases.
Be a track meet. Tell you what, you get the feeling this Rays lineup, blood in the water.
And he hits it up the right side. Craig on the run. He can't get there. That's a fair ball and will bounce into the stands, a double, and the Rays will get 2 more. So the Rays taking full advantage of this opportunity, make it a 5-1 game.
Yeah, these are the types of innings that don't happen very often against Wainwright, but he started it off with a leadoff walk to Kiermaier, and the Rays have pounced.
Now Molina. He fouls it up the right side. Strike 1. So Escobar driving in 2 with his 13th double of the year. Rays make it a 4-run inning. Tapper foul by Molina, 0-2. Rays taking advantage of a couple walks and error. Joyce had a double up the left field line. Escobar a double up the right field line.
I'll tell you what, their approach off Wainwright has been awesome. I mean, it has been very, very good.
Into the dirt, blocked by Cruz.
You look at the Rays right now, sitting on 6 hits. Only one of them has been pulled, and that was a breaking ball to Molina that he shot into left field. Everything else has been hit the other way. Being patient with Wainwright, knowing that he's not going to be able to blow them away with pure velocity. And so they have just let that ball get into the zone, stayed quiet, used the other side of the field, and they have used it effectively.
And Molina going that way, fouls this one out of play up the right side.
You know, Loney's 2 hits to left field. Matt Joyce's 2 hits to left field. The double by Escobar up the right field line.
Molina, the 8th Ray to hit in the inning. A little tapper at third base. Carpenter's going to have to go to first. They get the out. Loney scores. Escobar goes to third. So Molina makes contact and gets another run home. It's a 5-run inning and a 6-1 ball game.
Well, how about with the infield pulled in? You get a full swing there by Molina. Still doesn't hit it hard enough to give them a play.
And here's the pitcher, Jake Odorizzi. The Rays have put up 5. That's outside. 1-0. One ball, 1 strike. Boy, a high pitch count inning. How about that? 35 pitches, and you see the first 4. He was right on track. He averages just a tick over 14 pitches an inning. It's a good take, and Jake did not offer.
Tell you what, you come up with a 35, 40 pitch inning in the middle of a game. You talk about sapping a guy, especially on a hot, muggy night like tonight. And oh, by the way, it's cost you at least 5 runs.
There's a strike, 2-2. Rays have sent 9 men to the plate. And the count is full on Odorizzi. Wainwright trying to get that call. It started to make a move toward the dugout, but the count is full. This next pitch will be the 39th pitch of the inning. And he walks Odorizzi. So the 4th walk of the game, and that's going to be it for Wainwright. We're going to see a pitching change here. Mike Matheny, the Cardinal manager, out, and Wainwright will depart after 4 2/3. Back in a moment. a 6-1 game, and Rays fans with a 6-run across the plate get 50% off at papajohns.com all day tomorrow. Use promo code RAYS6. Adam Wainwright leaves this game with 87 pitches, 4 2/3. The Rays have 6 runs off him, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, and he leaves with 2 men on base in favor of Seth Maness.
Maness on for the 43rd time. He's worked 50 in the 3rd innings. 7 walks to go along with 32 strikeouts. You look at that outing there by Wainwright. A bad omen as Kiermaier strolls to the plate right now, walking him to lead this inning off. And I'll tell you what, the Rays took full advantage, have now batted around. He comes up again, and this time against a different pitcher.
Kiermaier up here. The pitch is outside. Kevin opened the inning with a walk and eventually scored the first run of the inning to break a 1-1 tie. It's now 6-1. Maness pitched 2 days ago in the Dodgers series, an inning and 2/3. Back out there here in the first game of this 2-game set. Cut and a miss at the fastball. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Some deception in that delivery by Maness. As you can see, he's a slinger with his arm action, the way that he delivers the ball towards home plate. Able to get his fair share of ground balls.
A little popper into short left center. Jay closing is there and makes the catch. The Rays send 10 men to the plate. They have a 5-run inning and lead 6-1. In on a great opportunity, started on the walk to Kiermaier. In the air on that roller by Zobrist. It's a big hit by Matt Joyce, fair up the left field line. That scored a run. Longoria was hit by a pitch. James Loney drew the walk to force home a run, and Yunel Escobar comes through into the right field corner with a 2-run double. Molina got a run home with a ground ball, and the Rays put 5 up in the 5th inning. A total of 6 runs off Wainwright, 4 earned on 6 hits. And the Rays have a 6-1 lead moving into the bottom of the 5th inning tonight. Jake Odorizzi, who walked in the top of the inning, took a little extra time getting to the mound. He's finishing up his warm-up tosses now before he faces the Cardinals in the bottom of the 5th.
Well, and probably didn't think that he was going to be the beneficiary of this kind of an outburst against Adam Wainwright. Seems how the last time they hooked up, it was a 1-0 win for the Cardinals, but now Jake with a huge lead. The key for him, do not change your approach. Just continue to pitch as if this is a tie ball game. Surrounded.
And seems unconcerned. Feeling pretty good right now.
The scoreboard is in his favor.
So a deep breath there by Jake Odorizzi as he prepares to go back to work in the bottom of the 5th. Tony Cruz will lead it off. Then the pitcher's spot is due. He'll face the pinch hitter next. Daniel Descalso is on deck. Then back around to the top of the order, Matt Carpenter. And the first pitch is in there for a strike call. Cardinals have the left-hander Greenwood up in the pen. That's foul back, 0-2. Nick Greenwood throwing in the St. Louis bullpen. And boy, you're right on about Odorizzi out there. Just business as usual right now. It's 1-2. Descalso on deck. That takes care of Cruz out on strikes.
And look at where it was again. Boy, it's amazing. This is becoming a pitch where Jake can tell you, this is what's coming. I'm going to throw you a fastball up in the zone at the letters, and you're not going to do anything with it. Powers it right by him.
Well, and that delivery has, you have to believe, everything to do with it.
He hides the ball well. The hand comes out of the glove quickly. It gets to its release point.
Descalso takes the pitch inside, 1-0.
He's able to spot that pitch up in the zone. It stays true. He doesn't have a whole lot of sink. Doesn't have really any sink. You see right there, that ball is as straight as an arrow. But boy, oh boy, is he effective with it. Amazing.
Two balls, one strike. It's popped up. Rays had the shift on, and that's Escobar making the call. The shortstop on the first base side of second. So that's 2 outs. 6 strikeouts tonight for Odorizzi, and you can see what he's been doing, and look at the company he's keeping. When it comes to the rate of strikeouts per 9 innings, he's behind only Yu Darvish.
And number 4 in Major League Baseball, and you see right there 2 in the American League. It's just amazing what he's done. And if you go back, and we've referenced it before, that start against the Indians where he had 11 strikeouts in 5 innings. And that's where those numbers started to take off. From that point on, he's well up over 11 strikeouts per 9.
At our Toyota trend, and the first pitch to Carpenter, who is 2 for 2 tonight. The pitch in there for a strike. Carpenter started the bottom of the first, hit a 3-1 pitch out for the solo home run. Now it's 0-2. Homered in the first and singled in the third. It's a ball and 2 strikes. Two and 2. Ground ball again from the shift. It's Escobar making the throw to retire the side. It's a 1-2-3 fifth. On to inning 6. 6-1 Rays lead. Nissan. Get to your local Nissan store for the ride of your life and save big today. Shop ChooseNissan.com. Tampa Bay Radiation Oncology. When cancer strikes, strike back with CyberKnife. Available exclusively at Tampa Bay Radiation Oncology. And by Wesley Chapel Toyota and Wesley Chapel Honda. Home of the lifetime warranty. I-75 North, exit 279. Rays with a 10-man, 5-run fifth. Hold a 6-1 lead. Nick Greenwood, the lefty, will be pitcher number 3 for the Cardinals.
Now limited work, just on for the 9th time. 17 innings. Come up and having to face the top of this Rays lineup. I'll tell you, what a job they did as a collective unit in that last half inning. Sending those 10 men to the plate, chasing Wainwright from this game and taking full command.
First pitch from Greenwood to Desmond Jennings. The top of the order is a strike call. It's a foul at the feet of the catcher Cruz. 0-2. Greenwood, born in Connecticut, he went to college in Rhode Island. "26-year-old lefty. He'll be 27 in September. It's a 1-2 count. Two and two.
Went to school in Rhode Island. Was that the University of Quahog?
I think it was.
Good school.
Good program. Right back to the mound, a line drive, and Greenwood makes the catch. One away, and we'll check in with Todd Callis.
Dwayne, guess who's behind me here? It's half the town of Eureka, and also Peoria, Illinois, and also it's the whole Ben Zobrist clan. 2 buses worth, 110 strong. They are representing the Rays, and the guy at home plate right now, Ben Zobrist. Can you show the baseball he threw? Ben threw a batting practice baseball up to his family section here. So, guys, it's a personal Ben Zobrist section. You got the whole crowd here cheering for the guy at home plate. Back to you.
All right, well, let's see what Ben can do against the lefty. Takes the pitch for a strike. Ben scored a run in the 5-run 5th.
Oh, he's been red hot at the plate, especially from the right side. So this may bode well for that first hit of the evening.
Well, he takes a strike, 0-2.
Yeah, Ben is not a fan of this strike zone tonight from either side.
And, you know, Reppinger at times can have a liberal strike zone, and Ben is living proof of that tonight. Certainly in his mind.
Cost Joe Madden.
Yeah, he was ejected earlier for the 36th time in his career. 1 ball, 2 strikes. There's a high fly ball back into left. Holiday to the track, to the wall, and he makes the catch. But Ben gave it a ride, made a bid, and Holiday hauled it in.
And a disappointed section.
Take a look at the catch. And at the moment of that catch, high expectations, high hopes. Not this time. Pretty good drive there by Zobrist. Now Matt Joyce takes a fastball for ball 1. This one behind Matt. Wow.
That was a breaking ball that it just came squirting out. Boom.
Hello.
And get that bat down so you don't take a foul ball.
Almost fouled it off. Two and 0. 3 balls, no strikes. A strike. Adam Wainwright pitched 4 2/3. See Longoria on deck. That is not his shortest outing of the year. He pitched 4 1/3 in one of his starts earlier. That start came against the Giants in a 9-4 loss right at the end of May. Gave up 7 runs in that one. 6 runs in 4 2/3 in this one. Matt Joyce swings and misses. Down go the Rays. Bottom of the 6th coming. It's 6-1 Tampa Bay. 6 coming here in St. Louis. As promised earlier in the game, we have the AT&T fan photo of the game. Tweet your photo to #SunSportsFanPhoto for a chance to be shown at an upcoming game broadcast brought to you by AT&T. Colton Wong's going to lead it off for St. Louis in the bottom of the 6th inning, their second baseman. First pitch from Jake is a strike. Holiday next, and then Adams. Outside of first, foul, 0-2. Wong came into the game hitting .251 with 6 home runs, showing some pop recently.
Well, he's crouched in there looking to uncork on a pitch that's out over the plate, and really in tonight's game offensively for the Cardinals, he was their high water mark, second hitter into the game. He walks after Carpenter homers and is immediately thrown out trying to steal second base. And since then, they've not been able to put anything together against Jake Odorizzi. Settled in nicely and throwing the ball well.
And Odorizzi gets him. Nice pitch right there for strikeout number 7.
Well, the ability to go above the zone with the heater and below the zone with the changeup. Got it all working here tonight. See Wong trying to get out there and lengthen that swing and try to foul that pitch off, and he's not able to do it.
A lot of territory to try to cover. Pitching up and then down.
Ankles to letters.
Yep.
I mean, that's literally what he forces you to do.
Holiday lifts one up the right field line, coming in a hurry. Kiermaier can't get there. That ball just foul. Kiermaier comes up and makes a nice throw back to second base, but it's a foul ball.
Well, that's okay because we got to see a spastastic effort there by Kiermaier. Getting over there. This ball just foul. You see it almost disappear into the line. Little slide, pop up, look to throw. It's going to give you max effort every time.
Dan Bellino down there right on the line. Matheny out to talk it over with him and await some word as to whether it's worth challenging the call.
Boy, looking for any opportunity to try to get something going, and they're going to go ahead and take a look at it. Well, this is Mike Matheny trying to spark his club, trying to buy a single here, and maybe they can try to put something together because it's been tough going.
We have another look, and here it is.
All back.
Kiermaier.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead and slide. It's definitely close, but you got to believe that Bellino being right on the line, if they don't have a shot going right up that line, there's no way you can overturn this.
Yeah, Holiday is back at the plate. He was actually about to step into the batter's box, and Molina asked him to step aside so Odorizzi can make a couple of tosses just to stay loose. Shouldn't be hard on a warm evening like this one. We're starting to get a little rain right now. Meanwhile, it's Dan Bellino and the crew chief Kerwin Danley as this play is under review. Bellino made the call, a foul ball, and Holiday certainly not trying to influence the outcome of this. He has a bat and he's going to ready to continue the at-bat.
He's as mesmerized by this as us. I mean, this is riveting television.
And so the call. It's a foul ball.
All that for a foul ball.
We're getting word that it was confirmed. Well, when Holiday started this at bat, it was not raining. Now, with a count of 0-1, it is raining. He wades into this one and fouls it out of play, 0-2.
Well, you know what? And at our current pace, by the 9th inning, there's going to be locusts.
Well, what was it, a 20% chance? It found us.
Yes, it did.
Upstairs, 1-2. Two balls, 2 strikes. Odorizzi working here in the 6th inning. 90 pitches for Jake tonight. And the count is full. There's 1 out into the 6th. You can see the first couple innings a little high, but he's averaged about 18.5 pitches an inning. But you see in the 3rd getting a little more efficient. There's a shot deep to left, and that one's going to go. 3-2 pitch. Now it's 6-2.
Now Jake just trying to throw a strike there. Does not want to walk a guy with a 5-run lead, and Matt Holliday, who got him at Tropicana Field, gets him even bigger here on a heater, a no-doubter.
His 8th home run of the year, his 2nd against Odorizzi, and there's a base hit by Adams into right field. Adams didn't waste any time and went right after the first pitch.
And that's going to bring Jim Hickey out to the mound to try to calm Jake Odorizzi down. You know, as well as he's been pitching, you want to get him through this inning and actually into the 7th. The bullpen a little bit limited right now because of ineffectiveness. Joel Peralta on the disabled list. So you'd like to get Jake obviously through the 6th and into the 7th before you have to turn to your bullpen.
Johnny Peralta is going to be the hitter as Jim Hickey heads back into the dugout. Peralta twice tonight has struck out, once on a changeup in the 2nd, in the 4th inning on a fastball up. Cut and a miss. Got him out in front.
A little bit of a slider right there. We've not seen that too much tonight from Odorizzi. 4 left-handed hitters in the lineup will start to steer him clear of that pitch. Mostly uses it against the righties.
Peralta expanding. 0-2.
Staying off speed, that coming with the changeup.
Olivo up in the bullpen. Again, back with the Rays with Peralta going on the DL.
You get called up with the Rays, you better come up ready to play. Joe Madden not afraid.
He lays off the high fastball. Now 1-2. Into the dirt, and it's blocked by Molina, and it's 2-2 to Peralta. Well, you get the idea here, and you're right. The Rays would love to have gotten Odorizzi into the 7th inning. But right now, they're trying to just get him through the 6th.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what he needs to knuckle down here and go back to making pitches. He left one pitch out over the plate. Don't let that affect future hitters.
And he comes back to strike out Peralta for the 3rd time tonight. That's out number 2.
Tell you what, he's really abused it with the fastball and the changeup. Here's another changeup. This ball middle of the plate, but Peralta pulls the trigger early. You know, he got him on that pitch earlier in the game. Victimizes him again there. You can see the pattern starting to emerge. A lot of hitters get ahead of him. Elevated fastballs. Peralta stay with a lot of off speed.
There's Alan Craig. He lines it foul into the seats.
And you can expect more of the same tomorrow night when you get Alex Cobb out there. Going to work these guys the same way. He's going to not going to be quite as effective with fastballs up in the zone, more of a ground ball guy, but certainly you would expect that changeup to play a prominent role against this lineup.
It's upstairs. Craig out on strikes, looking in the 2nd, and in the 4th inning hit the ball deep to center. Jennings had to go back to the warning track to haul it in. 2 outs in this one in the 6th inning. Runner at first. 1-1 the count to Craig. That's out of play. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Odorizzi making his 20th start of the year.
Well, if right now you're thinking about getting out of this inning, you're thinking fastball, I mean, way up there, right at the letters. Not going to be able to get to it.
And he goes up, but out of the zone, and it's 2-2.
Well, and with that 1-2 count, not such a bad pitch. You stood Craig up. Now you can come right back to it out over the plate. Going to have a hard time getting to it and a hard time laying off of it.
Just a little over 100 pitches for Odorizzi. The 2-2 foul right back. That's going to carry out a play.
Well, and remember from his last at bat, get it up there. He tried to do that the last time he was up. That ball was down more of a hittable location for Craig, and he drove a fly ball out to the center field wall.
Yeah, and here in this inning, he's lost a tick or two on that fastball up, too. He's at 88 now.
Yep. Well, you know, there's these hot, muggy nights. Tough to stay strong.
2-2 again. Close. Odorizzi wanted to walk toward that dugout looking for the call, and it's
awfully
a
close.
Ball. That was close.
Yes, it was. They're going to go with the slider.
Oh, my.
See how Molina caught that outside of his body. A lot of times that will give the impression that it was off the plate.
3-2. Check swing and a bouncer foul.
Full count, 2 outs. Adams in motion. Chris Archer trying to quiet the crowd down. I don't think that's going to work.
So again, a 3-2 pitch to be made from Odorizzi to Craig. And he missed again. Ball 4. That pushes Adams up to second. Craig walks. 2 men on with 2 men out. John Jay, the left-handed hitting center fielder, is due up, and Davey Martinez heads to the mound. That's going to be it for Odorizzi. So he'll leave with a couple of men on base and not quite get through the 6th. 5 2/3 for Jake. Now the Rays make a pitching change right back after this. Sixth inning. This copyrighted telecast presented by authority of the Tampa Bay Rays may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Tampa Bay Rays. They go to Rizzi, making the start for the Rays. Coming home, he grew up in this area, just 30 miles from the ballpark here. Made 100+ pitches, 106 pitches in 5 2/3, and leads with a 6-2 lead. Runners at first and second. We'll be turning it over to the left-hander Jeff Beliveau.
See the numbers from Durham in 30 games, 51 strikeouts in 36 innings. We've seen him with that ability to work those strikeouts. He gives you a tough angle to have to deal with. John Jay, the scheduled hitter that he's going to come in and face, is going to be lifted. And here comes Peter Borges.
So Jay had drawn a walk and hit a fly ball to left against the right-hander Odorizzi. Will not face the lefty, and Peter Borges hitting .230 with 3 homers and 13 runs batted in. He's seen limited playing time recently, but has been working on some mechanical aspects of his game at the plate and thinks he's making some progress. He's up here pinch hitting.
And I would say so, because the last time he was out there was Sunday night's game against Clayton Kershaw, and he homered off of him to tie the game up. Not going to do that very often, so things moving in the right direction for Borges.
And the pitch is a strike. Borges, we saw his overall average has actually hit better against right-handed pitching than lefties. He's hitting 195 against left-handed pitching. Jay, by the way, was hitting 388 off lefties. That's a strike, and it's 1-2.
Boy, just over anxious, looking to try and make a splash here for the Cardinals, and Borges goes after a pitch that wasn't anywhere near the zone. And that's a big swing in a count, going from 1-2 as opposed to 2-1.
It's upstairs. 2-2. Belleville got into a couple of games in April, an inning each against Kansas City and Cincinnati. He's out of Rhode Island. Went to college at Florida Atlantic over in Boca. And we're going to get time here.
Did he grow up in Quahog?
You'll have to do some research on that.
Get right on it.
Two and two. Here the Borges. Greg at first and Adams at second. Strike three called. He got it with a breaking ball. And that retires the side. Nice job by Belleville. We go to the seventh. 6-2 Rays. We're through six. On to the seventh we go. 6-2. Rays lead on the strength of a 5-run fifth. All 6 runs charged to Adam Wainwright. 4 of those were earned. Borges stays on to play center. First pitch to Longoria is a strike. The lefty Nick Greenwood still in the game. 1-1. Wainwright worked 4 2/3. Manus a third, and Greenwood worked a 1-2-3 6th inning. Evan hit from the left arm in the 5th inning. Came around to score. A cut and a miss. Longoria is the first out in the 7th. Second strikeout for Greenwood. Celebrate Christmas in July at Tropicana Field. Sunday, July 27th. Kids 14 and under get a Chris Archer Christmas stocking presented by SunTrust Bank. Wild supplies last. Then stay after the game for a special Christmas-themed concert by the Imagination Movers. Visit RaysBaseball.com today. Here's James Loney, who's been on base all 3 times. What a run it has been for Loney lately. Facing the left-hander here in the 7th. Takes the pitch for a ball.
9 for 14 on this road trip.
He had a double, a single, and a walk against Wainwright tonight. Chops this one to Wong. And the toss to first is in time. 2 outs in the 7th inning.
Well, you just got to be encouraged with, what the Rays offense has been able to do the last month, 5 weeks now. And you coming in here a day off and going to face a tough customer, maybe the toughest of customers as far as ERA goes in Major League Baseball. And boy, did they have a really good approach off Wainwright, chasing him early.
Janelle Escobar.
I'll tell you what, if they start to get the power stroke of Evan Longoria going again, how much better could they be even from what they are right now?
Yeah, you could see Evan, he's not happy with his night. He's certainly happy with what's happened with the club so far. Fly ball to center. Borges is there to make the catch. It's a 1-2-3-7. But if they could get his bat going, look out. Rays lead 6-2.
Half of the 7th inning, Evan Longoria, David Price, about 10 Rays in total arrived here Sunday night and went to the Sunday night baseball game between the Cardinals and the Dodgers. And David Price said, as a fan, it's a whole different perspective.
Our fans can moan and groan out there because it looks so easy and the game looks a lot slower. I mean, I even jumped up when somebody hit a fly ball to left, and it was about a 250-foot fly ball to left center, and I thought it was a homer. You know, 'cause you can't really hear the crack of the bat like you can in the dugout and stuff. So I definitely see how people get really excited for fly balls that travel 250, 300 feet. So it was cool.
David and Evan Longoria amongst the 10 Rays that attended that game. They said they just walked into the gate, showed their player cards, and the guy said, hey, we can get you a suite. And they said, no, we just want to be fans for this game. So they literally just sat in the fans, ate some peanuts, had a couple of cold ones, and watched the rest of the Sunday night baseball game. They saw their old buddies J.P. Howe and Jamie Wright in the Dodgers bullpen as well. Guys, back to you.
Yeah, that's the best way to watch a ball game. Just a little refreshment and some peanuts and enjoy the evening. Jeff Beliveau on the hill for the Rays in relief of Odorizzi. The left-hander delivers a strike to Tony Cruz.
That's what's so refreshing about this team and being around them. I mean, these guys got done sweeping the Minnesota Twins, fly in, get into, figure baseball, had enough baseball, get ready to enjoy an off day, and they could not wait to get off that bus, run across the street, and go watch a baseball game. And 10 of them did.
Yep. Foul ball.
Like kids.
Yeah.
Like, truly like kids, and they had a great time.
Well, they say you've got to have a little kid inside you to play this game and to be a fan. That's one of the appealing things about this game. No matter how long we've hung around, there is that kid element to this game, and if you let it, it can be a lot of fun. 0-2 the count. That's Escobar short. His throw is on a line and on the money. One away here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Beliveau pitching tonight. He made his major league debut in this ballpark, pitching for the Chicago Cubs exactly 2 years ago to this day. Making his 3rd appearance of the year for the Rays. As we mentioned before, he's been up and down and up and down. The Rays have had him show up as a form of added depth and security in the bullpen. Mark Ellis, the veteran infielder, pinch hitting. Looks at a strike. Brad Boxberger's up in the Rays bullpen.
Well, and Beliveau can be effective. He's not going to wow you with velocity, but he has a deceptive delivery. They got him right on the foot.
Hit him. So Ellis will head down to first base.
I'm going to say had a snappy little curveball too, and a little bit too much to Ellis there.
Matt Carpenter. Carpenter opened this game for St. Louis offensively with a homer in the bottom of the 1st. Singled in the 3rd, grounded out to short in the 5th inning. This time no shift, but Escobar shades the middle. Carpenter bunts the ball foul right back toward the base of the screen.
Carpenter trying to make something happen. Beliveau probably thankful that Carpenter's squaring around to bunt. Show a little hop off the mound. Evan Longoria covering the left side. The pitcher cover the right side. Get yourself an easy out.
Two.
No, that's the out.
Sweeping in there.
Yeah, that's a good pitch too. He really spins that curveball tight. Able to get late break off of it. He can throw it like he did right there to Carpenter and start it in and break it inner third. He can also start it middle away, try to sweep that pitch off of the plate. Imagine he would try to do that right now.
Foul away.
Well, if he wants to go to that breaking ball now, he's set up for it. The heater away with a little bit of height to it. You throw that curveball right off of the same release point and arm slot as that fastball. Then good things will happen. Take a look, see if they go with it. I'm going to throw over.
And the runner back in standing. And a balk has been called here.
Well, you know, Beliveau went with a high leg kick, and you wonder if Bellino is calling it because of the foot crossing the rubber or because he didn't step at that 45-degree angle towards first base. Tough to tell from here. Boy, it looks like, you know what, it was where his foot landed. That foot was closer towards going towards home plate than it was towards first base. And that's usually what you get banged for.
Almost balked into scoring position. Down and away. It's 1-2. Holds the count at 1 ball, 2 strikes. This one will be playable. Joyce near the line and just across into foul territory. Grabbed it.
Fans are so kind here. All those borderline fly balls, and everybody just kind of stays out of the way, stays within the confines of the stands.
I'll tell you, my experience is they are not only extremely knowledgeable fans, but they are the most courteous fans in all of baseball. They will applaud an opposing player who does something well. These are great fans because of those 2 reasons. They know this game, and they are hospitable fans as well. Kind of a refreshing experience. Here's Colton Wong. He's 0 for 2 with a walk. That's a strike. Popped into short center. Jennings is there, and that takes care of St. Louis in the 7th. We'll go to the 8th with the Rays leading 6-2. your Gulf Coast Honda dealers and GCHondaDealers.com. By Tires Plus, the plus is in everything we do. And by the Tampa Bay Times, the 2014 Pulitzer Prize winner for local reporting. Rays lead this game 6-2. As we move into the 8th. Jason Mott, the new pitcher, on for the 22nd time.
Coming back from elbow surgery. 18 innings of work, 14 strikeouts. This was a guy back in 2012, 42 out of 49 in saves, 2.75 earned run average, 86 strikeouts in 72 innings, but then with elbow issues, have it reconstructed and now back and giving it a go.
Jose Molina is going to lead off the 8th. Single walked and driven in a run with a ground ball to third. Lifts a high fly ball back into center. Borges is there. And he's got it for the first out in the 8th. Celebrate the memory of baseball's legend with the Don Zimmer Snow Globe. Only available through the purchase of a Tampa Bay Times ticket tandem Friday, July 25th, when the Rays play the Red Sox. Proceeds of the Snow Globe benefit the Rays Baseball Foundation. Call 888-FAN-RAYS or visit raysbaseball.com/tandems. Brandon Guyer on to hit now out of that 8th spot. Odorizzi started this game. The Rays have the pitcher in the number 8 spot. And Guyer hits this one into center. Borges back this time to make the catch. 2 gone against the St. Louis right-hander. Now it'll be Kevin Kiermaier with the bases empty and 2 gone. Belleville worked an inning and a third tonight. Pitch to Kiermaier down around his feet. No ball and no strikes. So good work by the 27-year-old lefty in relief. One and one. Inside, looking at Belleville, we mentioned 2 years ago to the date he made his major league debut in this park in a scoreless outing of an inning and 2/3, and a scoreless outing tonight, an inning and a third.
I'll tell you
3-1 now to Kiermaier.
And with the way that the Rays bullpen is right now, those are 4 big outs. 4 big outs that Belleville got after Jake Odorizzi's outing was cut a little bit short than what we thought he was going to be able to get out of it. He bridged the gap nicely getting into the 8th inning.
Ball 4. Kiermaier's aboard. With 2 outs, the Rays have speed at first. Second time Kiermaier has walked tonight. Here's the top of the order, Desmond Jennings. Kiermaier back in. Jason Mott, now 32 years old. There's a ball to Jennings. He had 42 saves in 2012 in 67 appearances. Into left center field. Borges coming on, dives, and he comes up with it. Great catch in center by Borges. Jennings making a bid for a hit. Denied by the center fielder Borges. We go to the bottom of the 8th. 6-2 Tampa Bay. Brad Boxberger just now entering this game, and what he has done over the last 9 appearances, complete shutdown of the opposition.
Dominance, 11 in the third, 3 hits. I mean, you see the opponent's average there of .088. He has walked a hitter, but I'll tell you what, Brad Boxberger has become one of the go-to men for Joe Madden. His ability to put up numbers like that, his ability to miss bats and pick up strikeouts.
He'll face Matt Holliday to lead off the bottom of the 8th. Holliday comes out swinging and fouls it away. Cardinal left fielder Matt Holliday homered in the 6th inning of Jake Odorizzi. So he has 2 of his home runs this year against Jake. Odorizzi worked 5 2/3, Beliveau an inning and a third, and now Brad Boxberger. There's strike 2. All of this before a crowd of 43,623, the 33rd sellout for St. Louis. Every game this year has been 40,000 plus for the Cardinals here in St. Louis. Holliday strikes out. That's 10 strikeouts for Rays pitching.
Now here it is, missing bats once again, fastball up. Rays have been effective with that pitch all night long.
Well, Matt Adams, ground ball down to first, knocked down by Loney. He'll make the play unassisted. Boxberger over there just in case. Adams is out number 2.
Well, that ball well struck, and a nice job by Boxberger not assuming that James Loney's going to take that himself. Anything hit to the right side, you've got to break towards first base immediately. And you know what? If he ends up taking it himself, fine. You're over there for moral support. You give him a little pat and head back to the mound.
Yeah, that's just an automatic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but we've seen how many times a ground ball to the right side and a pitcher off the mound just freezes and ends up getting over there late. There's a reason why you cover first 6,500 times during the course of spring training.
Yeah, and then every once in a while, sometimes the team will have that, middle of the season just as a little reminder course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you used to know that, too.
Well, check swing, going to be tough. Boxberger makes the throw. It gets away from Loney. So an infield hit for Peralta. Peralta had struck out 3 times tonight. And he's figuring in his own mind, well, maybe he was deserving of a little break there, and he got one, an infield hit.
Yeah, because Johnny Peralta, not too many times going to have an infield hit. Not the fleetest of foot, but the little check swing, excuse me type.
Pitchers instinctively going to try to make that play.
Yeah.
I'm always concerned, and I wonder how pitching coaches feel about that. When a pitcher's making a throw from an awkward position, a hurried throw at that.
Hope he's an athlete.
Yeah.
Hope he's an athlete. And it probably drives every pitching coach and manager crazy.
Alan Craig takes a fastball inside.
See, they don't want you throwing on the run. They're not allowed to catch a pop-up. I mean, for goodness sake. It's no wonder that pitchers are affectionately called kickers. Just worthless. Just go do your thing and then stay away from the real athletes.
They're so valuable. You don't want them to hurt themselves.
Okay. Then you're going to go with the so valuable argument.
Yeah, that's it. That's the way I feel.
I think it's the deep. You may feel that way. I think the coaches down there have the deeper seated feeling of they're not athletes. Just let them throw.
It's all a team. They have concern. 1-2 now. It's interesting because there is that, you know this as well as anyone, there is that little division.
Oh, yeah.
It just is.
Yeah, there's no doubt. You've got 12 or 13 kickers on the team and the rest position players. No, but I'll tell you what, though, that more and more, well, forget it. We'll talk later.
There's a swing and a miss. Always later. We go to the 9th. It's 6-2.
Tomorrow on our Rays Live pregame show, driven by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers, we'll be live once again from St. Louis with the pregame show. We'll hear from Alex Cobb. He discusses why this year has been tougher to come back from injury than last year and why he expects to have a very strong final 2 months plus. Coming up tonight after the game, our Rays Live postgame show presented by Checkers. Dwayne and BA will be hosting. Orestes will have his thoughts from the field. I'll be in the Rays clubhouse getting interviews, including Joe Madden, who has been kicking back in the clubhouse since the top of the third inning, guys.
All right, first pitch here in the ninth. Ben Zobrist grounds to Wong. He's out of there, 4-3. Going to give Matt Joyce a chance to hit here against Mott. Joyce doubled in a run and scored in the 5-run fifth. Pitch is a strike. Rangers and the Yankees have been in extra innings for a while. That's in the top of the 13th at Yankee Stadium. No score. Pitch off the plate. It's 1-1. Look out, fellas. 1-2. Blue Jays beat the Red Sox 7-3. Here the Rays lead 6-2, batting in the top of the ninth inning in St. Louis. Balfour and Yates up in the bullpen for the Rays. Joyce pops another one out of play. Another souvenir dropping in there. And that celebration a bit more subdued.
Not a fan of what's going on with this Cardinals team.
And strike three at the knees. Joyce caught looking.
Good off speed pitch there by Mott and perfectly located. Right on that outside corner.
Well, the Rays, nobody on base, 2 outs in the ninth. And the pitch to Evan Longoria is a strike. Evan hit by a pitch and he scored a run in the fifth. Every spot in the Rays order has been on base with the exception of the leadoff spot. Jennings denied a hit in the eighth on a good catch by Borges in center field. There's a shot back toward the corner and left. That is off the top of the wall and gone. He got it over the wall, off the top, bounding against the backboard, and has hit a home run, his 12th of the year.
You got that whole line of advertisements out there just above the wall and left, and it banged off of that, and on its way back, there's a gap there above it. And that ball stays in. Evan gets the head out, and you're going to see it come over that wall, back onto the field. That's a great sign.
Boy, you hit it right over Jack Buck's head and hit the lottery sign.
Never even ducked.
So it's now 7-2. Rays up by 5 again. Loney fouls it away. Good night for Loney. 2 hits, a walk, a run batted in, and 2 runs scored. With that home run, he takes over the franchise leadership in runs batted in. Evan Longoria with 593. Loney down 0-2. One ball, 2 strikes. Well, for the Rays, it's game by game, but what they're trying to do is something that no one has ever done in Major League Baseball, and that is for a team that was as many as 18 games under 500 make the postseason. Loney out at first. The Rays get a run on the home run by Longoria. Bottom of the 9th coming, 7-2 Tampa Bay. A 5-run lead with a home run in the top of the 9th inning for Evan. His first home run since July the 4th when he hit one off Don Smiley, or Drew Smiley of the Detroit Tigers up in Detroit. So he has number 12 here in the top of the 9th inning. We go to the bottom of the 9th inning. Kirby Yates on now.
Yeah, and another opportunity for Kirby Yates. I know the Rays have a 5-run lead, but still, you're pitching on the road, a tough environment, and getting an opportunity here to get the last 3 outs of a game. So another audition for Kirby Yates to take on a meatier role in that Rays bullpen as Joe continues to look for back end of the bullpen arms.
Well, it's going to take more than Boxberger and McGee.
Yeah.
And so he's looking for that. I think the final game of that Minnesota series, a step in the right direction for Kirby Yates. And here now with a 5-run lead, an opportunity to get him some more work and see how things go against the Cardinals in the bottom of the 9th inning. Peter Borges to lead it off.
Well, you got to try to find a way to get Grant Balfour back on track. You know, this is a guy who the last couple of years for the Oakland A's was lights out, tremendous. And, you know, it's been a little bit of a struggle for him this year. He's healthy, and velocity may not be where it once was, but it's not down that much. And the stuff is still there to be effective. Right now the problem is just throwing consistent strikes, falling behind an awful lot, and that leads to tough outings. And then also you want to get Peralta back and healthy.
Pitch missed a little wide. That'll take the count to 2-1.
But you definitely need some back end of the bullpen arms because they're going to be tested here the last couple of months.
Strike at the knees. So Yates 2-2 on Borges. Tony Cruz, the catcher, is on deck.
You see, you got Bedard out there doing some light throwing just in case.
Doesn't take him long to get loose. Strike 3 call. Borges out on strikes for the second time since entering the game as a pinch hitter in the 6th.
Front door slider. Yates is able to freeze Borges as that ball starts in. Molina wants that away. That's the old backup slider that works out in the pitcher's favor.
That's 12 strikeouts for Rays pitching tonight. Odorizzi had 8 while he was in there. By the way, the Rangers scored a run in the 13th to take a 1-0 lead over the Yankees in New York. There's a first pitch strike to Cruz. Right back into the screen. 0-2. Odorizzi 5 2/3. Beliveau an inning and a third. Boxberger an inning. And now Yates working against Cruz with a 2-strike count on it. Cardinals have Oscar Taveras out on deck. And strike 3 called at the knees. So Cruz caught looking. Back-to-back strikeouts for Kirby Yates.
Another off-speed pitch, another backup, another strikeout. Bottle that pitch up.
Yeah. One just pops in there every once in a while, whether you know it's going to be there or not. Here's Oscar Taveras pinch hitting. First pitch is a strike around the knees. And out in front over this one, 0-2. Rays trying to win their 6th in a row. They're an out away from it. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Takes the count to 2-2. That's foul toward the Rays dugout, holding the count at 2-2.
Scattering that dugout.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Fly ball up the right side. Long run for Kiermaier. If it stays playable, that is a foul ball and out of play. Kiermaier is going to give it his all just in case somehow it stayed in play. Count still 2-2.
Yeah, and if it did, this game was over because he'd find a way to get there.
Foul the other way, out of play. Cardinals very high on this young man. Tavares. And a base hit on the right center field. Kiermaier makes the pickup. So the Cardinals are still alive with 2 outs. A base hit by the pinch hitter Tavares.
Extended at bat, fouling off some tough pitches. Able to hang in there and find a base hit up the middle.
And Matt Carpenter. Well, he opened the scoring in the bottom of the first with his 5th home run of the year. Singled in the 3rd, retired in the 5th and 7th innings. Here he is in the 9th, and he takes the first pitch strike. Jake Odorizzi pitched 5 2/3 tonight. He is the pitcher of record. Too low. 1-1. Yates trying to get the final out. He got the final 2 outs in the game in Minnesota on Sunday. The pitch is a strike at the knees. That makes it 1-2 on Carpenter. Tavares, who was on the move there, left unattended, moves up to second base. And the count is 2-2 on Carpenter. The Rays since June the 11th coming into play today share the best record with the Angels at 23-11. And it's foul back. On June the 10th they had fallen 18 games under 500.
And how funny is that? That was the last time that Wainwright and Odorizzi hooked up. That was the 1-0 game.
Yep.
Boy, has the worm turned.
Two. There's ball 3. First 2 men retired on strikes. Then the base hit by the pinch hitter Tavares. Yates got ahead of Carpenter, and now the count is full. Carpenter continues to battle.
Yep. And Yates, you want him to finish it right here. Don't want to get into another situation with a 5-run lead in the 9th inning where you're forced to bring Jake McGee into the ball game. Bad enough that he's up throwing right now. That's actually not Jake. Is that?
Three-2. Ball 4. Base hit and a walk, 2 men on.
now you make a decision, and actually it's not Jake McGee throwing, it's Cesar Ramos. But do they make the move here? Call down there and ask if he is ready. Little delay tactic here by Molina. And a visit here by Jim Hickey.
So they'll take a little more time. We'll be with you tomorrow in the second game of this two-game set. Our coverage begins at 6:30 on Sun Sports. The Rays will have Alex Cobb on the hill. He'll be opposed by Lance Lynn. Mark Rippinger out there trying to move things along.
Well, they milked that visit.
They did indeed. Well, and Ramos got a little company out there in the bullpen while all of that was going on. Grant Balfour joining Ramos. Colton Wong, the second baseman. The pitch is a strike. Wong 0 for 3 with a first inning walk. We could come full circle. He was the first Cardinal retired when he was caught stealing. Yates trying to make him the last Cardinal retired tonight. And he has the jump on him, 0-2.
Yeah, best backdoor slider he's thrown here in this inning. Short, tight, right to the corner. One pitch away.
Close, he missed. It's 1-2. See just how close that was. That was close. 1-2. Foul the other way and out of play. Molina chats with Yates.
This has not been easy. Looked like it was going to be with a couple of strikeouts to start this ninth inning off, but then an extended at bat by Taveras with a base hit, then a walk to Carpenter.
A step back. Just enough to stay alive. Holding the count at 1 ball, 2 strikes. Yankees have scored a run in the bottom of the 13th to tie Texas, and they continue to hit.
Really? Good. Maybe they'll play 20.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Kirby Yates on the hill one more time to Wong. Fly ball into right. Kiermaier there, and the Rays win it. Wong flies out to right. No runs, a hit, and 2 left in the 9th inning for the Cardinals, and the Rays take the first game of this 2-game set. It's a 7-2 final as Jake Odorizzi will pick up the victory in this head-to-head battle against Adam Wainwright. For the Rays, 7 runs, 7 hits, no errors, and 7 men left for St. Louis. 2 runs, 7 hits, 1 error, and 9 men left. Odorizzi, the winning pitcher, he is